بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Welcome everyone in today's class. This class is for the first secondary grade in English subject in the second semester. The lesson is Unit 4, Listening and Reading from the book Mega Goal 2. It is prepared by Abdullah Al-Hussein and presented by me, Mazen Al-Harbi. So welcome everyone. Our objectives is we're going to listen and read about two strange events, and also we do have a text called Rock the Earth. We're going to read it, and after this we're going to learn new words and new vocabulary. So let's begin. Our first warm-up questions is, look at the picture here and imagine what had happened before Mr. and Mrs. Jones got home. So this is Mr. Jones and this is Miss Jones, okay? So what do you think exactly happened before they got home? So as you can see, there is a baby trying to writing on the wall, okay? And there is a sock hang above the picture, and there is a little girl trying to wear maybe her mother clothes, okay? And there is this boy also sitting or laying down on the sofa while he wearing his shoes. And this is also another boy who actually seemed to be dropping dishes, trying to cook something, and the dishes dropped. And you can see here also different books and papers are thrown on the ground. Okay, so it's real a mess situation. So let's try to describe exactly what happened in shape of sentences. Okay, for example, the children had cooked dinner. The children had cooked dinner. Okay, so let's try and try to make another sentences. We can say, for example, we can say this, that the boy had, let's say, ruined the wall or the painting of the wall. Okay, so the boy had ruined the wall or the painting of the wall. Okay, so this is number one, that the boy had ruined the wall. The boy had ruined the wall. Okay, so this is the second sentence. Now we can also, we're going to write a couple of more sentences. So this is the second one. Okay, the boy had ruined the wall. We can also add another one. We can say, about the little girl, we can say the little girl had dressed her mother's clothes. The little girl had dressed her mother's clothes. Okay. Yes. Okay. So they had cooked dinner, and the boy had ruined the wall, and the little girl had dressed her mother's clothes. Okay. So those are the kind of examples that we use to describe this picture. Okay, so here are the boy that we talked about, and here is the little girl, and this is one of the already mentioned examples. Okay, so now we'll move on to the second part of our lesson. We're going now to read the stories. Okay, and after the stories, after those two stories, we're going to have a couple of questions regarding this. So let's begin with the first story. Erica Swashters. Erica Swashters. I was invited a new friend for a breakfast. While I had invited a new friend for breakfast. While we were drinking our coffee, my guest asked if I wasn't going to introduce the gentleman who had previously been in the dining room. I said it must have been my husband, Joe, and I went to look for him. But the person had disappeared. My friend assured me she had seen a man who was wearing dark pants, a white shirt, and a black tie. That night I told my husband about it, but then we forgot all about the incident. 2 weeks later, my 10-year-old daughter woke up and saw a man standing at the foot of her bed staring at her. We told her she must have had a bad dream. Several nights later, we heard noises of chairs being moved around in the dining room. Joe went downstairs to investigate. The chairs had been moved from their places, but there was no one there. As soon as he climbed back into bed, the noise started again. We lived with those noises for more than a year, and some of the guests who slept in our house swore that they had seen a man who wore dark pants, a white shirt, and a black tie. In the end, we had to sell the place and move out. This is, of course, a lot of you would agree, this is really something very strange and very frightening as well. So just to sum up the story, a woman named Erica Schwartz, this woman said that whenever she invited her friends to come to her house, they say that they saw a man who wearing a dark pants, a white shirt, and a black tie. And not only her friends, but also her son or her daughter said that she saw this man in front of her bed. Okay, and this situation has been going for more than a year, and they kept hearing noises along or during that year. So what they had to do, they had to sell their houses in order to end this problem. It's really strange. Let's hear the second story. Now we're going to read the second one. It's also about strange events. Fred and Mildred Mackin. Fred and Mildred Mackin had finished rounding up the cattle and were heading home after a long and extremely hot day. It was already dark by the time they got to the edge of the woods that surrounded their property. Suddenly, they noticed a strong glow coming from the bushes about 100 yards away. Could it be sparks from a fire? A fire at this time of the year would be catastrophic. Mildred and Fred got on their horses and rode to the spot. As they approached a clearing in the middle of the trees, they saw hundreds of tiny lights flickering in the bushes. They looked like a miniature stars. This is also strange. This is about a couple who lives in the center of the woods, and they saw actually lights coming from 100 yards away, and what they had to do, they rode their horses and went there and actually saw a star, saw hundreds of tiny lights flickering around the bushes, around the trees. So just to sum up those stories, we started with Erica's house. We said that people saw a man in dark pants, white shirt, and a black tie in Erica's house, and Erica and her husband also heard noises in the night. This is our first strange event, and the first story. The second one about Fred and Mildred. So Fred and Mildred saw bright blue from some bushes. As they got closer, they saw thousands of tiny lights on the bushes. This is also the second strange event, and all of them are true stories, by the way. So this is really odd, and we not a lot of people may have stories similar like this. Now moving on to our second story. It's about our second article. It is called Rock the Earth. Rock the Earth. So it's, of course, we'll talk about meteorites and also space regarding the Earth. So a lot of interesting things that we will read about today. So before we read, have a look at the pictures and write as many words as you can for each one. Write as many pictures as you can for each one. Okay, so let's begin. So for the first picture, actually what we can see here, we can see a star. We can say also space. And for this one, we can see a meteorite, obviously. Maybe crashed and landed on Earth. Okay. And this one, obviously, a one still heading to Earth, a meteorite heading to Earth. So the word that we can think of, and for those pictures, we can see star, we can see meteorite, we say stars, we said meteorites, and also glowing, and planet Earth, also space, and crash. We said this is how those meteorites land on Earth, by crashing. Okay, so of course those are some of the words that we can think of here. Stars, meteorites, glow, planet Earth, space, and crash. Okay, so those are some of the words that we can think of regarding those pictures. So let's move on and see. Okay, so it says here, use some of the words that you wrote to make sentences that predict what you are going to read. Okay, very well. So now, here we have the words that we wrote. I'm going to copy it. And we will move to the second one and try to write sentences for prediction, what we're going to read in this article. Okay, so the first one we can think of. We can say the first one, a meteorite will crash, let's say will crash on Earth. Okay. Maybe this is one thing that this article will talk about, meteorites that crash on Earth. Let's say that is more logical. Okay, and also we can say also regarding the space, okay, regarding the glowing stars, and maybe it will talk about the glowing stars in the space. Okay, this is also one thing. Glowing stars in the space. Glowing stars in the space. So we have to put them in red also. Okay, so those are the two sentences that we can think of that this reading will talk about meteorites that crash on Earth and glowing stars in the space. So let's read and to see whether our prediction is right or not. So, read each paragraph and write a few notes next to each to help you remember what is it about. So, for example, when they read a scientific text that contains a lot of factual details, it is important to read to get a general understanding of the content rather than trying to remember all the specific details. Very good. This is very important note here, that when we read any text, especially scientific one, that has a lot of details, a lot of terminologies that we may not understand, it's important to keep reading until we have a grasp, we have a general understanding, a general idea about the whole text or the whole content. Okay, so let's begin. Thousands of meteorites enter Earth's atmosphere and fall harmlessly to the ground each year. One widely accepted theory is that the impact of an asteroid 6 miles, that is about 10 kilometers, in diameter could have been responsible for the extinction of many life forms, including the dinosaurs 65 million years ago. This is interesting. So to sum up this, the first paragraph, it says that meteorites that fall on Earth, it may, in one way or another, be the reason for the extinction of creatures, and he gave example of dinosaurs. This is interesting. The second paragraph, on June 30, 1908, a small asteroid of approximately 200 feet, that is about 60 meters in diameter, exploded at an altitude of 5 miles, 8 kilometers, over the remote region of Tunguska in Siberia. The explosive energy from the meteor was so great that 500,000 acres of Siberian forest were devastated, and some trees were knocked over at distances as far as 25 miles or 40 kilometers away. So here is an example of an accident that happened, okay? And we said that a very small asteroid actually exploded, and this energy of this meteorite was so great that maybe 500,000 acres of those forests were devastated, were ruined, and trees were knocked over distances that reach until 40 kilometers. This is the first incident on how those meteorites harm the Earth. In order to protect against such events, or at least reduce their effect, NASA has developed ways to monitor near-Earth objects, and it's shortened as NEOS. For example, the Near-Earth Asteroid Vindizovas, which is NEAR, is a spacecraft that monitors Eris, one of the largest asteroids being studied. Eris is scheduled for a near-Earth approach in January 31, 2012. And however, scientists are concerned because at present there are about 900 asteroids circulating our solar system. If an asteroid that size of Eris fell on Earth in the middle of the Atlantic, it would have a very catastrophic effect. This is really threatening, let's say. Really, really threatening that 900 asteroids in our solar system may fall on Earth. It will have a catastrophic effect, of course. But there are also other hazards from space. Thousands of nuts, bolts, and other debris from space missions form an orbiting garbage dump. Some of these bits and pieces fall back into Earth's atmosphere and behave just like any other meteor, lighting up the sky like a falling star. According to NASA, there must be over 100,000. So not only should be concerned on the nutrients and asteroids, but also there are bolts and let's say, to put it in other vocabularies, let's say leftover from those space missions, okay, and they orbiting our solar system. This is really threatening as well, and NASA said a very shocking number of those. They said that it could be more than 100,000. Objects with a diameter of 1 to 10 centimeters floating around space. The number of fragments less than 1 centimeter could be in the millions. The U.S. Space Command is aware of the threat of an orbital impact during space missions and monitors this junk constantly. Okay, and they say that they are aware of the problem and they're trying to monitor it. The agency estimates that there might be more than 3,000 satellites orbiting Earth. In February 2008, for example, the United States blew up a satellite that contained toxic fuel. It was exploded over the Pacific Ocean so that it could not fall and harm humans. Some scientists speculate that one day there might be orbiting garbage collector machines to pick up the debris. This is really promising. And since the space surveillance mission began, almost 17,000 objects that were tracked re-entered Earth's atmosphere. Most objects that re-entered the atmosphere either burn up or re-enter over water. As a result, the risk of someone getting hit on the head by one of these objects is very remote. Nearly 3/4 of the planet is covered by water, and a large area of Earth land are uninhabited. So nothing to be scared of, according to those missions. They said that most of the bars that cover of our planet Earth are either areas that are not habited, or covered by water. So the chances that they could hit someone on the head is very, very low. So now we do have some new words and new vocabularies. Do you know what those new words mean? Impact, extinction, devastated, negligible, catastrophic effect, fragment, toxic, and uninhabited. So let's see and read those or learn their meaning in detail. So impact means effect. So when he crashed into the pool with his car, the impact threw him forward. Next, extinction, it means that no longer, or let's say absence of something, but something has been absent by force. For example, the dinosaurs died out. Their extinction happened long ago. Devastated, very ruined. It means, for example, the house was devastated, completely destroyed by the hurricane. Negligible, it means is either ignored or not anyone did notice it. For example, the effect was negligible. It was so small we didn't notice it. Okay. Catastrophic effects. It means the effects weren't small. They were catastrophic. They were very big, very huge. The fragment means a very tiny piece. Toxic. It means very poisonous. For example, the fuel was toxic. The scientists didn't want it to poison people. And the last one, uninhabited. It means the uninhabited house was overgrown and falling down. Uninhabited means no one is living there. It means no one is living there. This is what we mean by uninhabited. Okay? So now the last part we'll have to do is matching the words with the meaning. So we're going to read the words and check their meaning. Harmlessly, remote, explode, devastated, threat, and debris. And the meaning are destroy, without damage, junk, distance, blow up, possibility of danger or disaster. So let's see and check the answers here. Very well. So harmlessly means without damage. Okay. And remote means a distance. Remotely means from a distance. Explode means to blow up something. Devastated, it means destroy. Threat means the possibility of danger or a disaster. And the last one, debris, means junk. So those are the meanings of those words. And now we reach at the summary of our lesson. We actually begin with reading two strange events, and then followed by reading an article called Rock the Earth. And then the last one, we learned a new word and did some exercises about it. So here are the references that we use in today's lesson. Thank you very much for watching. If you want to watch this lesson again, please visit the website. And here are the means of communication if you do have any questions or inquiries. So thank you very much and have a great day.
Oh